and welcome to Brown the Tits, Australia's only breast tanning service podcast.
You just go outside, the UV index is so high, and you'll have some
It's extreme.
brown crispies.
Yeah, because I have extremely pale skin. My skin kind of reacts negatively. Like I get a little bit of an itch if I use a lot of different brands of like sunscreen, and my dad's had enough melanomas cut out of him for it to qualify as a hobby. So I just don't leave the house between like 8:30 and 2:30.
Yeah, no.
It's just not viable. It's literally like the UV is like, oh yeah, you gotta, slap and stuff when it's at 3, and it's at like 12.
Yeah, it's at 3 right now, and it's 4 p.m.
Yeah, this is like the safest time of like actual sunlight for me.
Yeah, because so those who don't know what the UV index is, it is ultraviolet.
Yeah.
It's the ultraviolet light that sun shines through. In Australia, it is usually extremely high.
It's extremely dangerous.
So, which means you get cancer, skin cancer, and melanomas and shit really easily if you just go out like when we were driving home and saw this dude just mowing his lawn with no shirt on.
That dude was brown.
And he was brown, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean I was born this way brown. I mean like gently roasted. Anyway, this is Around the Twist podcast.
Ah, fuck. I thought it was a brown roasting dude podcast.
Yeah, it's Brown the Tits. Ever felt like this? I'm your season finale, Gabriel. And that over there is your season finale, Amber. And today is the season finale of season 2.
It's called Seeing the Light. And you know, this episode was
crowded.
Very crowded.
Like, it's one of those ones where by the end I was thinking this really should have been a 2-parter.
Because they've been teasing it the whole...
They've been teasing a lot of stuff.
The whole fucking time. And it's like, you could have just put a little bit more into that teasing and we wouldn't be in this situation.
Or like, because the stuff that happens, like all the stuff that happens in the episode is stuff that is mechanically needed to happen for the stuff that's been laid out to pay off and make sense.
Yeah.
Fine. But like, a 5-second recap of a movie can tell you what happens in the movie. You're not getting the fucking journey or the experience. And that's kind of where we're at with this, where like, there's all these things and, some revelations and bits and bobs that happen. But like, the problem is there's no second for any of it to land emotionally, and some of it wants to land emotionally.
Yeah.
And, you get these like revelations of things that have happened and it's just like, oh, okay. And then blip, we're off to something else. And then that thing that you just had earlier that you thought might be like a conversation or like a character would learn something and change, they've just changed by the time they've come upstairs. And really this could have easily have been a 2-parter. And it would have been a much, much stronger conclusion. As it is, it's like, all right, it does the job. But
I'm just amazed we didn't have any Bronson nudity. Because that's been accustomed to us for the last...
least boy ass of any episode.
Yeah.
Although, wait, there was completely shirtless Pete.
That's not boy ass, though.
No, it's
shirtless
not, but
it's different.
Yeah, but like, it's one of those things where, you don't think about it if you're not like turned on by it, I suppose. You know, like if I just see some naked little kid, it's just like, huh? It's funny. There's like a little kid running around naked. But like for a pedophile, that's like something different. Like a shirtless male to me is just so many ways irrelevant. Maybe a novelty in the case of that weird homeless guy that lives up the road who I call Stink Belly. But like, that's it. Whereas like, I assume if some dude's into that, then that's like, all right, yeah. It's my afternoon set. Shirtless Pete, freeze frames from Round the Twist.
At least the stinger was like
brief,
very brief, which is
fucking.
I think they needed to be, because it's just literally some ghosts like rocking up to the lighthouse and then like seeing the light with a little lighthouse.
Yeah, and then it's
graphics.
Like, all right, yeah,
and we jumped straight into it, like boom, and hats off to the captioners of this episode because you fucking suck. Because Bronson's complaining that his dad's going to Bali with Faye, and he says, you're not going to Bali with dad, but the caption says, you're not going to battle with dad.
That's so
and
great.
I want to see the epic Tony and Faye battle.
That's what he understands, like, sex to be. Like, when a mummy and a daddy are alone in a room together and he hears weird wrestling noises, they are literally wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking, power bombing the wife off the fucking chest of drawers.
So it's election day.
Which I thought was going to be a bit more of a thing than it was.
Yeah, because they've been storyline after storyline about the election.
It's been a serialized thread of relevant interest throughout the whole fucking season.
And it's like, boom, no election's over. We didn't get to see anything.
Yeah, it's just we find out Nell won with 95% of the vote by Tony just walking into the house going, well, Nell won with 95%. It's like, that's it. Like, all right.
Thanks, plot dad.
But like, so like basically, yeah, because the family of ghosts appear, and it's like I was still trying to work out precisely what they were about because we never seen them.
We have never seen them at all.
Were they meant to be the ghosts from like last season? Because wasn't there a family, a little girl and shit?
Different ghosts.
Yeah, see, I know. I feel like they're just redoing it, but like differently. And so like Pete's flying a kite off the fucking top of the lighthouse, which looks like a pretty cool place to fly a kite from. Actually, there's been some windy days lately, and every time I'm thinking, man, I keep forgetting to buy a kite. You know how you only think to buy like a fucking raincoat or some shit when it's raining, and you're like, I don't want to buy it now because it's like an extra $10. I'll get one later, and you never do.
I only want to buy a kite if it can lift me. I can parasail over Brisbane on my kite.
I mean, that's just like one of those fucking parachutes you wear, but you start on the ground,
Yeah.
I don't think that'd be safe.
No. It'll be fun until I crash.
Yeah. I mean, I'd watch. But like, and then... Like, this is one of those ones, like I talk about, because one of the things, the little dramatic tools that pretty much everyone knows the name of is Chekhov's gun, where you got to like, set something up and then have that thing that you've set up pay off later in it. Yeah. And this really feels like it's such the whole bit of it feels like such a last minute addition just to kind of make something relevant in the end. Because there's no reason for Pete to be flying this kite.
No. And
the kite gets struck by lightning. And then he goes, look, Bronson, I've invented air barbecue. And when he pulls the thing back, I figured he'd have at least a sausage tied to the kite, Like, because then, all right, like, now I get it. Pete's trying to fucing cook a sausage using lightning. That is an understandable thing for like a 13-year-old in
That's
like
actually how
1991.
Bunnings cooks all their sausages.
Yeah. Just connect it to the fucking shonky outlet. It'll be right. Like, that's a thing. But there's no sausage attached to the kite. So he's just flying a kite and it goes struck by lightning and he gives it to Bronson. Bronson's annoyed because it's like ruined. And then, all right. And then we're immediately downstairs and Linda's saying, oh no, it's upstairs and Linda's saying she can hear music. So there's this kind of like incidental music going over, the kind of Enya wavy shit, but like, Linda can hear it and like hears messages in it, which is interesting. And so they go downstairs and like the ghosts we've been seeing over the course of the series, like was it Matthew and Jeremiah?
Yeah.
I think Matthew is the daddo.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
I love in the credits they're labeled as Ghost Matthew and Ghost Jeremiah. You could have just called him Matthew and Jeremiah. Like, there's no other characters in the show called Matthew or Jeremiah.
Especially this episode.
No.
Like, and so like, Matthew's going on about how like he'll meet his love again and everything's lining up. He'll do it this time. And the ghost ship is on the horizon. And then, the lighthouse will work again. And then Jeremiah's like, oh, I won't.
What a fucking negative Nelly.
I know.
Oh, no, it won't. Get fucked.
Yeah. It's like, man, we're ghosts. All right. Like I've got a thing that I can do here.
Yeah.
That's not like I can fucking play video games. And so like Linda's like mentioned that Fiona's going to the social, which is, I'm assuming an equivalent of like, the school formal, which would be kind of an equivalent of like a prom or something to the Americans.
I assumed it was more just like a disco.
Yeah, like one of those like really horrendous blue light discos that PCYC runs.
And she's told him that Gribble's going with Fiona. He gets up a bit upset about this. Which
I would, I'd be annoyed just on principle.
Yeah, no one likes Gribble.
Yeah, and also like, hasn't he been repeatedly trying to molest you against your will?
That's true. That's very true.
That's one of because it's just like, oh yeah, she's gonna date him now. It's just like, oh okay, women are stupid and I don't respect them. But like the thing is that like, we'll get to it when we get to it, but that's not necessarily accurate information. And so Pete's like pretending to ask Fiona to the fucking social in the mirror, and
it's a travesty.
Yeah, it's about as depressing as one could imagine.
And then the ghosts are like, ooh, naked boy.
Shirtless boys. And
they show up and he's like, I need your body. It's like, what?
Yeah, because like Pete's scared a bit because obviously two dudes are just behind him in his room. But then it's like, look, we're just ghosts. I need to borrow your body so I can do something. And then like, Pete's like, no, I've got like my own shit to do tonight. And then, Matthew the ghost is like, look, this is kind of important. And then when the lightning strikes, it allows the ghosts to like possess other people, which I don't think has been established at all.
No.
And considering the sheer volume of ghosts we've had, I feel like that could have been established.
Is that like a ghost rule hard and fast for all ghosts? Or just these ones? Because their events
We're tied to
tied to lightning?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's no, like, this is the thing. This is what I talk about when I say the bullshit you make up for your shows needs to be stable. Because you build plot elements around
two
these
weirdos
parts.
on the internet will dissect it 20 years later.
Yeah. Fuckers. You can make a fucking arc that goes, you fucking think about what your ghosts are doing, set some of this shit up.
So yeah, he just pretty much possesses Pete against Pete's will and then starts talking with an accent.
Boys are asking for it, yeah.
And Bronson is coming up the stairs and he hears him talking about his brother being an abominable wretch, to which Bronson says, I'm not abdominal.
Yeah, I'm not abdominal.
Which is something that never makes me not laugh, is Bronson mispronouncing things. Because it is such a child thing to do. It's great.
And so, one thing I do like, though, is like the second, because like Matthew Ghost has, it's like once in 100 years. So it's just like, I'm taking your body. We're going upstairs. We're going to light the fucking lighthouse. That's what we're doing today, all right? It's lighting a lighthouse. Don't be a dick. So yeah, that is kind of like...
I feel like he could have just conveyed this to Pete and had Pete help him light the light.
Yeah, like I do feel there's a chance for that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that because it was like right now, maybe he was just like, look, fuck it.
Yeah.
You got one chance in 100 years. You're not going to... Some kid's going, I don't want to. It's like, yeah, like, look, I'm sorry, kid. We're going to eat some shit on this one. And then like downstairs, everyone like, Tony and all that come in and...
Nell shows up.
Nell's won the election with 95% of the vote. It's like, all right. And that's it. That's the most we
Gribble comes in and is upset and demands a recount. He's demanded a recount. And Tony's like, why? That she won 95% of the vote.
Yeah,
it's not like it was 1% difference.
No. And so, like, Linda spends most of this episode just hearing singing.
She's glued to the window for most of the episode, just listening to the window. And the interesting thing is she keeps saying little bits about the characters that she's listening to, but it's not very conveyed very well. Yeah, because like, none of like, just we can hear the Enya part of the music. Linda can hear like voices and stuff in the music. We can't, so the viewer can't hear these things. So Linda's talking about like bilge and wash and shit, and is talking about things that she can hear as their conversations being overheard on the boat. Yeah. Tony can't hear this. Linda says the voice is creepy. Tony looks at his daughter and just says, "You're creepy." No, he says, "I'll show you creepy."
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
That's even creepier.
I know.
And so, Tony's also trying to talk about like the fucking engagement. "I'll show you creepy."
Yeah. Because at this point,
be under your bed.
No one knows that they're engaged again, which is weird considering they were engaged once.
Like there's a thing in pro wrestling where if you're gonna have a pay-per-view built around two guys fighting, right? You're gonna try and make people pay money to watch two guys fight.
Yeah.
You don't have them just fight on the fucking free TV show a week beforehand, because then you've given it away.
Mm.
It's just like if they have a full match and there's a winner a week before the fucking show happens, then I'm not gonna pay to see the fucking show, am I? And that's what I get with this fucking, I feel like I'm like, what the fuck happened? Because, you were engaged and going to be married, and that sort of resolved in the Turtle episode, and then it just didn't. And then Bronson was sort of okay with it, but this episode he's like, really quite actively against the idea of them getting married. And, it's like they've resolved the issue sort of twice, and then they've just kind of go, oh, no, but it's kind of a thing again.
Back.
Yeah, just because it's the season finale, so it's also sort of a bit. And so they fucking, Bronson and Tony go upstairs because, like, Bronson's talking about Pete fucking trying to start the light. And the light in the lighthouse hasn't gone for, like, 80 fucking years. And Tony assumes it's just Pete and Bronson up to something, which, look, is fair. And Warren threatens them and tells them to both be downstairs in 5 minutes.
And he tells Pete to get dressed. I think Pete should get more undressed. Just come down
Take off your pants and get downstairs. And so, Matthew Ghost is talking through Pete's face And we find out that like Matthew, the thing that got brought up a few episodes ago about like what Matthew did was fall asleep at his post. And so the lighthouse light was out the night the fucking SS Noranda was coming into port, and the boat crashed. And then, Matthew was bummed because A, it was his responsibility, and B, his like fiance was on the boat.
Yeah.
And so he committed suicide.
Jumped off the lighthouse.
Yep.
The thing is, we never work out how Jeremiah dies. That's never touched.
Yeah, I thought about that as well, and that's interesting given like everything else.
Yeah, because we know how everyone else dies.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we don't. Why was the dead ghost family in the lighthouse dead?
I have no fucking
Yeah.
clue. Like, I'm not even like I said, I'm not even sure who that fucking dead ghost family are, especially because they just showed up tonight. Like, are they something to do? Maybe they were like
they had relatives on the boat.
Yeah, but like,
but we had no context.
Maybe they only show up every 100 years with the fucking boat. I don't know. Fucking Christ. And then where are we? Yeah, so Linda is still just like it's another one of those issues where there's a lot happening, but like not a lot for everyone to do.
Yeah.
So, Linda spends most of the episode just looking out a window listening to Enya.
We're just stacked with characters upon characters.
Yeah,
like, because Nell's there, Gribble's there, Matron's there, the 3 fucking Gribblings are there.
The Gribblings?
There's so much phase there. I'm surprised Mr. Snapper wasn't there.
I'm a little surprised he didn't make an appearance, maybe show up or something.
Yeah. Like when the wind's howling.
Yeah,
Snapper is here.
My car broke down. I need to stay here. Like that, may as well fucking, Monty Python, not Monty Python, fucking Marx Brothers Night at the Opera this.
The part I did like was just Gribble having a breakdown.
We'll get to that because that's one of the weirder ones. Yeah, so like, Linda's explaining to like Nell, Faye, and Fiona about the music, and Nell's obviously like, oh, okay, I know something about this. So she like,
of course she does. She's the fucking crypt keeper.
Yeah. She ducks off to like fucking get something. Fiona asks Pete if Pete's heard that she's going to the social with Gribble. And then like Pete just sort of races back upstairs. Oh no, that's right. It was
Talk about Jane.
Yeah,
about
like,
his fiance.
Because Matthew just keeps talking about Jane through Pete's mouth and won't explain. Won't just go,
I'm just
using the boy's body for a bit.
Gribbles go, Jane Finkel, Bulldog Finkel. And for the rest of the episode, everyone keeps calling her Bulldog Finkel, including the adults which is just a lot. This poor girl. I want to see her now. Like,
oh, poor Bulldog Finkel.
Because like Bulldog is not a good nickname. If you are called Bulldog space last name, that's not good for you. That does not bode well.
And so like, Fiona gets it in her head that like Pete's got some fiance or is just not interested in her anymore. Even though it's like she's like not going to the social with fucking Gribble.
Yeah.
Like that's the baffling part about this is it's like, was Linda just shit stirring?
Well, that's what she says. Because Linda asks her, are you really going? She says, no, that's just the rumor that Gribble started.
Oh, okay, right. I missed that.
Yeah, so that's why she's so pissed off because like none of it was true. But then Gribble does go, well, I can mend your broken heart. You should go with me. And she seems into it, which is, again, weird. Is it the Quicksilver turtleneck he's wearing? Because that's a 100% weird look. Just... He's like the surfing Steve Jobs,
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, like you don't think surfing turtlenecks.
No.
Loggerhead turtleneck. Because they're those, they're
those are weird fuckers.
Yeah. Like, so yeah, Nell comes back with a book and it's like, oh, tonight's weather is the same as when the boat sank 100 years ago.
Yeah, she has the lighthouse log.
Yeah, and then Matron sees a ghost rat. She's just sort of made peace with that.
She's like, it's some kind of rat, but and then Bronson goes, ghost rat. And she goes, yes. Yes, well, look who's retarded now, Matron.
Matron's demented. What was it? What was the thing that got set you on fire or something? Like,
what?
It was some insult to Matron that was just insane. I can't remember what it was.
Which episode?
I don't remember. It was just like, sir, your wife should be like put in a box. It was in the season finale of last season.
Oh,
Actually. It was
okay.
like,
I can't remember. No.
wow, your wife's mad and she should be put in a box or something. It was I gotta look it up. It's gonna drive me nuts. But yeah, so like, Matthew Pete walks with a limp because a horse stood on Matthew's leg. And so he comes downstairs speaking in a Scottish accent, and Matron sees an injured child and starts immediately tending to him. So everyone's kind of like gathering around that. And Tony says, "Oh, I've got an announcement to do with the like engagement." And then Gribble Senior just says, "I'm going out. I'll be sometime," which is
He
what
says, "I'll be going out for a minute.
Yeah.
I'll be sometime." And it's like, that's not what a minute means, motherfucker.
Well, the "I'll be sometime" thing is a reference to like, I think it was an Arctic explorer. It might be the Antarctic, who like basically, it's not a good idea to just go walking off into like one of the least hospitable environments on Earth.
Yeah.
And so they got like stuck there. And then he was like, "Well, I'm going for a walk. I may be sometime." And that meant he was just walking off into the snow to die. And so Gribble kind of, I don't know, seems to do that. But this is Gribble's like 5 seconds of making peace with losing the election by an absolutely fuck clobbering margin, where he just walks out into like the fucking lightning and insane wind and storm and is just screaming at the sky. And lightning strikes, so Jeremiah rips Matt out of Pete's body. Gribble is slowly dragged back into the house, despite the fact the storm really, really
I love
wants
it
to
because he
kill
just
him.
kind of runs out and like exclaims to the sky like a bunch of nothing.
He's not handling this loss well.
Because this is his whole life. And like Nell, just a battered old fucking lighthouse crypt keeper. It's like, I'm senator now.
Yeah.
She's got no training, nothing. Like, I'm assuming Gribble has a little bit of business training and some sort of.
I mean, I'd say he has like some basic like networking capability and and that kind of shyster charisma to him.
Plus all the money he's probably spent on the campaign.
Yeah, like
because he did say he'd
spend
spend a lot on advertising and stuff like that. And
well, I mean, it'll just be a big blow to his ego. A blow that it just can't survive. So he goes out to just die in a fucking storm. Doesn't quite manage it,
sadly.
And so Pete's a bit confused when they all drag Gribble back inside. Fiona's annoyed. And then they they fucking bring up Jane again, and then adults just going Bulldog Finkel. And then so lightning strikes again, and Matt takes Pete, but this time Jeremiah takes Gribble Jr. And so they just march upstairs.
The lights go out as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's where the fucking power.
Lightning knocks all the power out.
Linda and Nell talk about how it's all happening again.
Which is like, Nell, I'm pretty sure in the Lighthouse logbook it doesn't explain the atmospheric highs and lows and shit. It would just be like big storm, light out.
I feel like it might
maybe, I don't know.
It might be one of those weather things where
Depends
it's like
how
you have to
thorough
write
Matthew
down all the weather.
is.
Yeah.
And I mean, he fell asleep and jumped off the lighthouse, so I'm guessing not very.
So, Matthew and Jeremiah go upstairs as Pete and Gribble to do ghost work, fiddling with the light. And then Rabbit and Tiger and a bunch of everyone else is piling upstairs, and this other ghost family just start yoinking.
Yeah,
the
they're
bodies
just like,
as they come.
buddies.
So
let the bodies hit the floor. Could lay that song over that easily.
Stupid fucking goddamn song. Like, as someone who enjoys pro wrestling and watched a lot of pro wrestling compilations on 2006 YouTube, I have heard 2 minutes of that song so many times.
Yeah, that and a lot of Linkin Park songs were used with Dragon Ball Z, music videos.
Yeah.
You remember those? Remember when people would take clips of a show and make a music video to it? That's fucking bizarre.
The only good one ever was the Evangelion Angle one. Everything else is like a fucking distant last place.
It's weird. Do people still do that, you reckon?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no way people have stopped that. But
we don't give them that attention anymore.
Well, I mean, there's just so much other stuff to look at.
Other stuff, yeah.
That's the thing. It's just like they'll have their own weird little corner and they'll have their fun, and then that's just it.
So yeah, the ghosts are all yoinking bodies, and Jeremiah takes the matches and puts them in his pocket.
Very, they make a point of showing you fucking him pocketing the matches.
Yeah.
And sort of, it is chaotic as fuck because now just everyone, even the people who aren't possessed, are fixing the light.
Which is fucking weird.
I mean, all right.
Going with the vibe. Like Gribble's lost his mind, so may as well keep going.
The power's out and Gribble's insane. I may as well get the light to work because then at least there's light.
The only one that actually seems confused is Matron, who's just kind of standing there going, "What the fuck is going on, guys?"
So Junior Gribble, brother Ghost, goes downstairs and is talking to Bronson about like what it's like being, the second brother and how everyone loved Matthew and, even Jeremiah also had a crush on like Matthew's wife and, while he's doing this, he's pocketing all the fucking boxes of matches he can find. And so, the light is getting, finished, polished. They pull the little wick thing out. The power comes back on and everyone's like, oh, the power's back on. And they all blow the candles out. And then Jeremiah's downstairs talking to Pete again, talking to Bronson again. And he reveals that, like, Matthew didn't fall asleep. He did something to fucking make Matthew pass out. And the idea was he was going to make it look like Matt fell asleep at his post and didn't, do his job. And then Jeremiah was going to come along and save the day at the end. But he didn't know how to work the light properly.
Which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. And so he's responsible actually for everything.
He killed everyone.
Pretty much.
He killed all the people on the boat. He killed his brother, drove him to suicide. And that's what I want to know. How did Jeremiah die?
Yeah, because it doesn't come up.
No. And he looks to be the same sort of age as his brother, like age range.
It's not like it was.
So
like,
it's not like because I
it was
assume
just
when
unrelated syphilis.
I assume when you die, that's what your ghost form is at the time of your death.
I mean, you'd think.
Because later on when we see the boat people, there's like an old captain, and obviously the children are children, stuff like that. So how did Jeremiah die? That's what I want to know.
What did he do?
Yeah. Because we already know he's killed a boat full of people.
And yeah. And so Gribble Sr. comes downstairs looking for matches and he's desperate for them because his brain is broken and this is the only thing that's filled the hole. And, Bronson's staring at like Junior Gribble, Jeremiah Ghost. That's a fucking tongue. Junior Gribble, Jeremiah Ghost. That's one name, yeah. Hello.
Thunder Cougar fucking bird.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Junior Gribble, Jeremiah Ghost. Messes with my face.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like he heads up and he's like in tears almost going, there aren't any matches. And it's like, oh no. And then Bronson just comes up with Gribble Jr. and Gribble Jr. goes, here's matches and throws matches to Pete. Pete lights the lighthouse, light blasts out, the ship changes course and doesn't hit the cliff. And then I'm glad you noticed this because from where I'm sitting in the room, the light is coming through the blinds a little and was hitting like kind of exactly the point where the fucking thing was. What was it? It was like the ship
just disappeared from the bottom and then like appeared in the light beam. Like someone just pasted like clip art there.
Yeah. It was not their finest moment.
No. And so the ghost ship is saved and we see the ghost people come out of the ship and they're just standing in the light beam and everyone rushes outside because all the ghosts who are in the people's bodies want to get to them. But of course, they're not, corporeal.
Well, they're trapped in the meat. Yeah.
So they're going to kill them all.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to just jump off the lighthouse.
Sort of. It's not like deliberate, like we're going to kill the body so we can get out, but it's just like they're not thinking because they're
just trying to reach their loved ones. And so the people who aren't possessed are trying to hold them all back. And Bronson has the bright idea. He's like, we need the lightning.
Sausage lightning.
So he gets the kite and it starts flying a kite. And we get the one resolution from the Bronson-Faye arc, which is Faye goes, if Bronson has a reason to fly a kite right now, it must be a good reason. And Bronson looks at her like, oh, wow, she's not shit after all.
Finally, someone understands me. I mean, really, like, Fiona's probably been more supportive of him than anybody else, but he's a stupid little shit. So, like, everyone's holding the string, lightning strikes the kite, and, like, the DeLorean's able to go back to 1985.
It releases the ghosts from their fucking earthly bodies.
Their meat suits.
And then they're like, they all kind of float over one by one. The family goes first, and then Ghost Matthew's like, boom, oh, there's my Jane, and then he goes off. They've suddenly lost the ability to talk, which is weird.
Yeah, and not entirely.
I don't know if they were too far away.
Yeah, I mean,
And
so Jeremiah gets nothing.
Jeremiah looks really sad and like, because that's the woman he loves, and he killed everyone. So
And he thinks he's
pretty
not like
shit.
welcome.
And then like Matt's like, come over, and it's like, come join the threesome. But he floats over, and then he just looks back, and
Gribble, and it's like
it is the most pedophile grin I have ever fucking seen.
It looks almost exactly like the very first time the Joker appeared in a Batman comic. Like the very first image of the Joker is great because it's one of the gumbiest fucking drawings you've ever seen. But that's exactly the smile.
Yeah.
It was weirdly fucking sinister, and he was smiling at Gribble.
Which is just
weird. Like, yeah, and again, given everything that's happened, it's got a lot of villainy to it. So it's like, well, are you planning on fucking him over and sending him to Ghost 2 or something? Like, what exactly is the plan here? And so, the ghosts vanish, all right, and then Pete mentions that if Bronson can get all these people together, then he can probably get Tony and Faye together. And then, Tony tries to announce that they're engaged again. Except they get they're all still holding the kite, and lightning strikes the kite again. And then so
no, Bronson's holding it by himself, and he goes, "Here, hold this."
Oh, right.
And then lightning strikes, and it's magic lightning that makes people kiss. Apparently,
it's Zeus's lightning. This was absolutely the work of Zeus. Only Zeus has horny lightning. Everybody else has just fucking ouch lightning.
I love that because then lightning strikes again, and Gribble starts making out with Matron.
Yeah,
but he also grabs
his arm going around Matron gets Gribble Jr.'s head
by the neck.
Yeah, just pulls him into the parental makeout session.
It's like no kid wants that.
Oh Lord, no. I do like that we could go out on like a Gribble suffering note. Like
I really wish that Rabbit and Tiger made out.
Yeah, let's close the book on that ship.
You would expect Pete and Fiona to kiss. They didn't.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. They didn't highlight it much though.
I was too busy looking at the headlocked Gribble.
They kind of have to let's not make the fucking
Bronson should have kissed his hand, made out with his hand.
Just a sandwich. It just starts immediately just yeah. Or his cousin. Where'd his cousin go? Little cousin fucker.
Back to the state where cousin fucking's legal, apparently.
Port Noranda. So if it sounds like we've been fucking going a mile a minute retelling this, yeah, that's the
episode. Yeah. It does not stop. There are no breaks.
And this is what I mean. Like the election wasn't paid off. We got a thing about it that tells us what happened. We didn't get to see votes coming in. We didn't get to, there was no tension and release. There was nothing. It was just like, oh, Nell won.
The ACTF education on seeing the light says, as a whole class, provide the concept of plot structure, orientation, exposition, conflict or problem, climax, resolution. Revise the concept of revolution. It can be helpful to explain the French term for resolution, which is denouement.
Denouement, yeah.
Denouement means untying of the knot and is an apt description of the function of the resolution in film and literature. List the problems established during the series before viewing. They are Mr. Gribble and Nell's fight for election to the Senate, Pete's competition with Gribble Jr. for the love of Fiona. It's not a competition. She doesn't like him.
It really, yeah. That's another problem is some of the things that were held up as things we have to resolve weren't things that had to be resolved.
Bronson's objections to his father's plans to marry Miss James.
Still wasn't well done either.
No.
That's
nothing in this episode was well done.
I mean, maybe the ghosts, the ghosts probably got the best fucking thing of it. We got some basic resolution. But I mean, we find out Jeremiah is responsible for everything. And then again, it's
he gets paid, he gets rewarded.
Well, that and it's not like Jeremiah has been spending the time going, I have to find matches to make sure this doesn't happen again so I can atone for what I did.
Yeah.
He immediately sets about hiding matches so it can happen again. And then Bronson eyeballs him and then he just changes his mind and that's fine. We don't see any growth or change or oh yeah, what I did was really fucking shitty. He is 100% at the start of this episode prepared to be shitty again. And it is up until the last fucking 5 minutes, maybe less, ready to be shitty again. And then just doesn't. Yeah. And then smiles at the camera like a fucking freak, and then it's all right, well, that's that. If this were a 2-parter, it could have been them at the fucking lighthouse watching the election results.
Yeah.
And build up the lightning as a thing. Build up the ghosts needing, the bodies, and maybe have, Matthew and Jeremiah, Matthew figure out what happened and fight with Jeremiah, and have that conflict actually come to a head and be a thing. Because Matthew still doesn't know.
No.
And that's kind of important.
Yeah. He's just not going to tell him.
Have the fucking election be a thing. Have, some of this stuff have a moment. So Jeremiah can go, oh yeah, I really should change. And it was terrible what I did and I had to face that. It's like, all right, great, yeah. I mean, the fucking again, yeah, Gribble and fucking, Fiona wasn't a thing. Like,
He was always trying to,
yeah,
but
yeah.
she never accepted his advances.
Yeah, and like I think it was the last episode of the episode before where she like made out with Pete at the school. It's like,
yeah,
this wasn't like a thing. It's like Gribble might have like wanted to fucking, feel up Fiona, but like she didn't.
yeah.
There was nothing to resolve here. There was a couple and just some weirdo. That's not a fucking knot that needs resolving.
It just felt like really weird as a season finale.
It was fucking packed to the gills.
Because like the thing that should have been the season finale was the thing where Faye,
the turtle episode,
Mrs. James, and Bronson were like
that
resolved
felt,
shit.
We said it then. It was like that felt more like a fucking season finale than this did. It just did this, this didn't have the ghost. And that's like, because that's the thing, that episode shouldn't have happened. Like, if they just didn't get engaged earlier, or like, you could do all right, we're engaged, all right, there's, it's rocky and maybe the engagement's off. But like.
And now we get Neo Tony for our sins.
Yeah, like.
Because when we're going to jump to the next season for the next episode.
7 years.
7 years has passed.
And so I think the entire cast, but Gribble.
Pretty much, yeah, is different, which is insane. Mark Mitchell's eating good, though.
It's nuts. Yeah, I was like, it's nuts that they managed to get Gribble back.
Oh, wait, what else is he doing? He's every villain on Australian kids' TV. So
living the dream, menacing children.
He should have been in the fucking like 60s style Batman.
The Gribbler. What does he do? We literally don't know.
He gribbles.
Yeah, he just makes this noise.
Gribble.
Yeah, look, not all of these people can be like a fucking, Mr. Freeze or anything. It's not everyone's a gem.
I want McDonald's to bring back Grimace. Like, all we get is Ronald and sometimes Birdie these days.
Birdie's stuck around a bit longer than I thought she would, yeah.
Like, but, where's Hamburglar? Where's fucking Grimace? What is Grimace?
He is extremely butt pluggy.
Mm.
And I feel like maybe the McDonald's people were like, that's risky in an age where like even 8-year-olds have internet. Let's not maybe have a butt plug shaped thing out there. And I'm guessing Hamburglar's gone for the same reason I keep calling him Hamgurgler.
I wonder if Grimace is under copyright. I'm going to look this up.
Just someone else owns the Grimace copyright.
Because like, I'm going to make official McDonald's butt plugs.
They'll make you grimace. All right, well, while you're looking that up, Amber, I'm going to ask you a series of very grim questions. Have you ever felt like this? Have you ever been caught in a storm? Ever really needed a light? Ever been responsible for a big fuck-up? And the wacky question for this week, ever been struck by lightning?
All right, before I answer any of these, I'm going to blow your fucking mind.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
What do you think Grimace is?
I mean, I think I've heard what he's supposed to be, but I'm not sure if that was apocryphal or not.
A taste bud.
Yeah, all right.
That is fucked up.
I know, that is fucking wild, because, like, what kind of weird science were they doing that a taste bud got that big?
He was voiced by Frank Welker.
That blows my fucking mind. Because he was, like, Megatron. He was Megatron, wasn't he?
I think so.
He did loads
He's also
of...
Nibbler. And he does lots of shitloads of animal voices in Hollywood.
Huh.
He's one of the most prolific like voice actors that like the joke is, when Professor recalls the 15
the geese flying by,
that all of those geese are Frank Welker at the same time.
That's wild.
Originally Grimace was Evil Grimace.
Huh?
With 2 pairs of arms from which to steal milkshakes. All right, we've gone off track. This will be the Grimace podcast for later.
We'll do a filler podcast about Grimace actually being Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Holy shit, I need that mod.
Okay, so
what were the stories? The
have you
questions
ever
again?
been caught in a storm? Have you ever really needed a light? Have you ever been responsible for a big fuck up? Ever been struck by lightning? Have you ever been caught in a storm?
You said that one twice.
Well, I'm going back to it.
Oh, okay,
I want you to fucking,
Right.
I'm now posing the question as opposed to just reading them aloud.
Depends what you mean by caught in a storm, I guess.
Well, we
away
allow a
from
little bit of
home, like, or
anything, if be outside mooning the sky. You could
Well,
be,
I mean,
you
we
know,
had those really bad floods a few times.
like at the beginning of the year.
No, not this year. Like way back.
Oh,
Like
2011.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad wanting to just go out in them.
I do sort of understand that.
It's sort of like, I guess, a storm chasing thing.
Or just like,
But-
hey, let's look at lots of water where there normally isn't.
Yeah,
You know?
I get it, but also that's extremely fucking dangerous.
Oh yeah, especially because your dad strikes me as the kind of guy who'll drive across a flooded creek.
He wouldn't do that. He's
Really?
not. He understands how cars and water
That's good.
interact. So
I mean, not out of stupidity, but out of just like insane bravery.
yeah,
You know,
no,
like,
I
can
don't
this.
think he would. I remember that. I remember times when we've had extreme hail and like just shit's been like the sky goes green. That's
Yeah.
always fucking scary.
It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, because like the crystals, the water crystallizes, like the ice crystals of the fucking water, like react with the light and the gray of the cloud weirdly, and you get this. It's green.
It's green.
And-
It's like jelly green. It's
Yeah.
just it's
Because
creepy.
I was caught in like there was a big hailstorm in like I think 2004, and I was trying to walk home to West End with weed, and was just outside, like just fucking out, like
Yeah.
not anywhere near anything but other people's houses, and then it's just like fucking blocks of goddamn ice are just falling from the fucking sky. It's like at first it's like the little bits, the little like maybe fingernail, size bits.
Yeah.
Was just like all right, yeah. Then it's not hard, it's not heavy. It's just like ow. There's no big deal. So I'm like, all right, I can still get home. And then like a bit goes kapoof, like near me, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna die. And like as I'm running for like a fucking awning of like one of those like former fucking corner stores,
Yeah.
that's now just a house or something. Like, and I'm under that, and like as I'm galloping for this, a fucking bit of it just like fucking bullseye belts out of the sky, hits me right in the left nipple.
That's
It was fucking
that's
bruised.
so funny.
And like it was good that it hit my nipple because I could hit my eye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm just-
absolutely.
I'm just under there with like nothing, not even like a flip phone,
Yeah.
like not even fucking. This is a shitty one. I didn't even have Snake or anything. I'm just sitting there. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just under here until the sky stops trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And
I understand ancient societies thinking gods are pissed off and shit when like
Yeah.
the sky goes green and then balls of
and imagine,
ice
yeah,
come
and imagine
down.
if someone fucked up earlier that day.
Yeah.
You blame them straight away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And imagine living in a place like this that we don't get snow.
Yeah.
So we don't know what this shit is.
Yeah,
What's
there's,
what's
like, snow, and
ice to
sometimes
us?
it's like, yeah.
You
actually.
know?
How often would you see ice?
Never.
Ever. Yeah.
Unless
there's
you've
just-
been through a storm before.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's this? Hard water. Fucking who invented that? And like then because the 2011 one that happened, a bit of ice got in my room. Like it just somehow came through the fucking fly screen and
Yeah.
just was just boink. There's a bit of ice on my bed, and I'm like, that's weird. Fortunately, that was as bad as we got it that time around. But that was that. Yeah, I remember the 2011 hail was nuts.
Mm.
Because it was like 2014 or something. But yeah, it just fucking wrecked shit up. Because it hit like the CBD.
Yeah.
Normally, it'll belt the shit out of the outer suburbs.
Yeah.
But there's like the Great Dividing Range and a few other things. It sort of saps storm, energy before it gets to the city. As we got into the city, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna smash up some fucking buildings.
It was bad.
Yeah. So I got hit by fucking, sky ice in the nipple.
That's great. I've been hit by hail, but never any big ones or anything. So
Yeah,
or
like
ones
the-
that really hurt.
the bit that hit me in the nip fucking hurt because it's moving and it's cold. And it was, like not exactly golf, but ping pong ball size.
That's still pretty large.
Yeah, no, like large enough that it was like the threat of life, like death is right. Like this is not safe.
Yeah.
I'm not safe just outside.
Why have you forsaken me, Sky
Yeah,
God?
and not in the like the if I'll get a cancer one day. It's like no, a fucking rock might kill me. Like I might literally be dead in a second.
Yeah.
So just like, well, time to hide. That fucking sucked. Have you ever really needed a light?
Interesting.
I mean, as someone who smoked weed in some odd locations and in odd things, it's like, yeah. I mean, I can tell you, like, smoking weed with a Zippo lighter sucks. Never buy a Zippo to smoke weed. Zippos, unless you light in joints.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to pull like a fucking pipe, or you're going to inhale all the oil fumes, and it's fucking heinous.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Oh yeah, it's like tailpipe.
So are we counting light as in like flame as well?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Okay.
like, yeah, I was gonna go either or. Like my initially, I was gonna go with fire, but
I
like,
mean,
if you
quite
wanna do both-
easily is it's also smoking weed stories. Because like I remember having like
My drug needs
no
fire.
gas in like the lighter just ran out of gas, like,
Yeah.
as they do, and it's like shit. Go to get the matches. Matches somehow got wet. Shit. Trying to light my pipe on the stove.
Yeah, that's a.
It's an electric stove. So I'm trying to light toilet paper on fire.
Yeah. Okay, you need kindling.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
to pull it. And it's just like, none of this is fucking working.
Reminds me of that, like, the dumbest way to smoke weed or like hash or anything ever is hot knives.
Oh, God,
'Cause
yes.
It's like, I remember when someone explaining this to me, like, fucking way back in like 2000, like, I don't know, 2002, 2003. They say, you want to do hot knives? You get really fucked up. And I'm like, all right, what's hot knives a metaphor for? Because it has to be, because it can't literally just be like two hot knives. And it's like, this whole routine is you get like a bit of fucking your hash or your weed or whatever on like a fucking butter knife. You heat another butter knife up over like a fucking on like an electric stove. Like and I mean red hot, like
yeah.
red fucking hot. And then you put like a fucking cut off Coke bottle over the top, and you touch the two bits together, and it like flash fries the fucking weed. And the vapor all goes up and you inhale it. And what this fucking means is at any point, a person who's trying to get high or who already is very high is attempting to balance a fucking pile of fucking weed on top of a butter knife while holding a white hot butter knife and clutching a fucking, Coke bottle bit in their mouth and trying to get all these things to line up. And this is like, why would I do this? What does this do? What magic fucking stoner science are you going to tell me that's going to, be like, oh yeah, metallurgists discovered this, and the fucking shitty fucking metal, that we've got in the butter knives that we, got from our mums that are from the 70s are going to fucking transmute the weed into like this amazing potion that'll cure you. This is like, no, this is a prank that got out of hand.
Yeah. Go buy a fucking lighter. Like, just do it.
Because, like, yeah, I've done the same thing. And, like, there were times we had a gas stove, and that's great, because then you can get the spark from the fucking lighter to light the gas stove.
Yeah.
And then you can just kind of, like, lightly pack your fucking cone piece and turn it, and then have your face dangerously close to an on-gas stove, which is warm and unpleasant, but, like, it's safe. Then you've got, like, then you're sitting there looking at, like, just the weird electric circle, and you're like, oh, how am I fucking going to do this? And your brain just goes, I need paper. And I need to start a small fire.
Yep.
And I'll use that small fire to ignite a skewer. And I'll use that skewer to put into my pipe, and then I'll smoke the weed.
Don't use toilet paper, kids.
Yeah.
It goes up way too quick.
Yeah, it just
like
burns
it just
away.
goes.
And it makes a lot of smoke.
Yeah.
And just don't do any of this. Just
get a lighter.
Just have a bic. Don't be a dipshit. Have you ever been responsible for a big fuck up?
I've been responsible for many small fuck ups.
Yeah.
So let me just think of a big one.
I've kind of only ever seen big fuck ups. Like, because growing up poor, everything's a big fuck up. Like when I was little, it's just like, oh yeah, if you break anything, you have to pay for it, and then you've ruined your family.
Actually, no, I remember a big fuck up.
Okay.
You witnessed this fuck up. You remember when I was really messed up outside the bar?
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was a fuck up because I had a fucking, I don't even know how much, but I had a thing of speed, 2 bottles of tequila, and a bottle of vodka.
Yeah, and the problem is, like, when the speed's going, you're fine.
You're fine. Yep. So we start off the speed. Yeah, cool. Let's get drunk. Yeah. Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Go down. Got into fucking Fiend's car. Off we went to the bar. Got there. Was in there. Was dancing. Everything was great. Was in the 7-Eleven. Had a banana. Don't know why I got a banana. I do not know why. Obviously.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I feel really good. I should be healthy. I'll get the healthy option.
Back to the bar.
Speed and banana.
Back in the bar. Nearly fucking projectile vomiting like Chucky. Head spinning in the gutter.
Yeah.
Like that was I would classify that as a fuck up. Definitely. That was a fuck up of many proportions.
I mean, all things told, it wasn't that bad.
No, the other fuck up was when I slept with someone who someone else really wanted to sleep with, and I thought that they'd be okay with that. And they were like, I kind of let it slip, and they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, no, that didn't happen.
I mean,
And
did they have a chance, or were they just pining?
It was Brand.
Oh.
There is no chance.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, look, there's no such thing as dibs, all right?
No, but yeah, it was a fuck up to misunderstand that situation and to think that they would be okay with the information I told them.
All right. I mean, like, because I remember that night where you were really fucked up. Because that's the thing I'm quite familiar with. Because when you drink with a lot of people who own, and I mean like own the buildings and shit that like the venues in Brisbane are in, like people who own like a quarter of the valley and stuff. They're like fucking rich as shit. So for them, getting like functional cocaine's not that big a fucking issue, you know? So like you get great fucking cocaine for Brisbane. And provided you're around, you can not have to pay several $1,000s for it, which is just fucking sweet.
Yeah.
But like it'll happen to you and you'll see it happen where you can pinpoint the exact second the fucking, stimulant wears off because you just see someone get a whole night's worth of drunk at once.
Oh, it's so bad.
And like, I remember seeing like one of my old managers down at the Bowery having his coke wear off and just watching him collapse just because he was a wide motherfucker, like beefy as shit. And his knees had buckled in the center and his feet were still quite widely planted. And then the rest of his weight would just perfectly perch atop this thing. So even though he was like almost asleep, like almost unconscious, he was just upright and could kind of move about a bit like E.T. And that was something to watch. Like just, and there's like, it's probably been deleted. It was on a friend's phone for ages of like him just walking around the Bowery and us walking around him because like I think he was trying to bump into us or hit us. Yeah. So we were kind of like baiting him, but he couldn't move very fast. And so I was just behind him going, and like someone was like fucking dying laughing and trying to tickle his nose.
Speaking of ET, before we go any further, I want to tell you that I went shopping yesterday and like we were looking at clothes and stuff. ET's back.
That's distressing.
Because like it's like the 40th anniversary or whatever. But
okay, right.
There are clothes for like, 3 to like 12-year-olds that are just ET, and it's like. That feels weird.
They'll re-release it and just be like, here you go, kids,
But like when you stack ET up next to Pokemon, Marvel, Fortnite and stuff, stuff that's really colorful and nice and vibrant.
And ET looks like a big poo.
He looks like a big scrotum. Like.
I get it, because like I hated ET when I was a little kid. Like I was like the only kid. I was like, oh yeah, come on, let's watch ET. I was like, I don't watch fucking ET.
So yeah, you reminded me with the ET comment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had the same thing with the fucking, that you did, but like I was at your house that time.
Oh, that night was was a wild night, especially. So I decided to have a party.
I pissed in your kitchen,
and I had to work the next day, which was a fucking mistake.
That was very funny when I found that out
because there was like 20 people at my house, and we drank heavily through that night. You showed up on 3 grams of MDMA.
That was a lot.
And proceeded to down like a bottle of vodka like it was water.
Right. Now, in my defense, some of that happened because we were playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and decided to do a shot every time someone lost a character.
I thought that was a different night. Or did we do it again?
I think we definitely did it more than once.
Oh. Why did we do that?
because I think this was the first time we did it.
Right.
And I agreed because I was high as shit.
Yeah.
And because that night was just in general a fucking Category 5 write-off, it didn't occur to us that was the problem.
Yeah, for those who've never played that game, it's a 3 versus 3, and we took a shot if you lost your character, second shot if you lost the second one, and then a double shot if you lost the match.
Together. And bear in mind, if you lose your first character, you've got good odds you're going to lose the other 2.
It's a game where you can call an assist in, so there's a chance that you're going to lose 2 characters at once.
Or all 3 if you're really fucking unlucky, yeah. And granted, neither of us are fucking Jaywong, but we knew enough to get fucky. And then the problem is now we're both drunk, and then it's just chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And we did do it one other time where we realized, like,
I was
about a minute in, it was just like,
we can't do this.
yeah, hey, this is actually
stupid.
a really, really bad idea.
We're gonna die. Yeah, so you was just so messed up that you peed in my kitchenette.
Kind of looked like a toilet,
I just remember because like someone go, hey, Gabe's peeing in your kitchen. Just turn around and you're there. Like the thing is, I left you there because you were like looking in the pantry for like 10 minutes, magically hoping something better to eat would appear.
I don't even know if I was hungry. I was probably.
I don't know. You were just staring at the colors.
Just pantry gnomes.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, okay, he's fine looking at the pantry. It's fine. And then no. At least you drank so much that it was pretty fucking sterile.
Oh yeah. If anything, you could have used it to clean it. You could have cleaned the pee with the pee. Like I haven't again because I'm just there's always that thing of like I don't want to do anything just in case because if like again when you grow up poor it's like all right if you have to pay to replace a window or something it's just like well you've crippled your family.
Yeah.
So like I was always what teachers would call like the ringleader because it was they knew that it was me that had like egged somebody on into doing something.
Yeah.
But so like yeah I'd very fucking deliberately avoid. And that's why I'm always like, it's like the second I pick up a power tool, it's like, all right, I gotta be very careful with this because I've seen people fuck up.
Yeah.
Like I've seen how bad these things can go. And like I was doing fucking one of those stupid fucking jobs where you put up the fucking Christmas decorations at a mall. And that's a shitty, stupid fucking job. But you do it overnight, all right? Like so you're doing it from like fucking 9 o'clock at night to like 4 in the morning. And we were at I think the big flat, like the Hyperdome or some shit. And, it's one of those malls where it's like there's no second level. It's just long. And it's got those long stretches of that really, that pure white floor to ceiling wall. That mall wall, that fucking plasterboard shit. And there was this guy who I got along with and we were chatting and he was on a forklift and just... I don't know. Like, I don't even know what happened because, like, forklift controls are a little weird. Like, it's not like just a car or some shit.
Yeah.
So, like, at one point he just accelerates for, like, long enough that, like, everyone knew what was going to happen if brakes weren't applied or if you didn't, turn or do something. And he just didn't. I think because it was just, like, that situation of, like, oh, I'm on the thing. Like, his brain was going, okay, how do the fucking controls on this work? And then just goes, and just stuffs 2 forks straight into like the fucking floor to ceiling pleasant, like, and there's just 2 big gaping fork holes into God knows, the fucking rat runs of the mall. And, I laughed my ass off, which he was not happy about. But it's like, also, man, come on,
You've got to look at the humor in these situations.
But that, like, shit like that is exactly why I don't want to be, in a position of major responsibility for little things like that, because like that's the great thing about teaching is it can take a long time before people realize you fucked a kid up, and it's hard to trace back to you. If you put a forklift through a wall, people are like, hey, you put a forklift through a wall.
No, I didn't. Yeah, you did.
Because like you'll see those things on the internet sometimes, people fucking up with a forklift and knocking over just like 2-story things of stock, and it's just like I got a housemate that works at like does warehouse management. It's like all that shit, fucking getting shit from the fucking shipping crate into the fucking, packing crate and then getting it to like Coles or Woolworths or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you can have like a whole fucking, dozen pallets of like mixers and shit. Stuff that can break if it falls.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm responsible now for like fucking $10,000 worth of fucking broken mixers, I'm just getting up and walking away. I don't have that. Sorry. Like, look, I feel really bad. Don't, look, it's, don't think I'm not, mentally taking responsibility for this. But also I have precisely 0 way of paying for this. And I simply have no reason to just stand here. Because what are you going to do? You're going to be angry at me and I'm going to be like, yeah, you're right. And then we're going to be at an impasse. Nothing's going to happen. And, I'm sure you're insured. I'm not. So I bid you adieu. I'm sad that it had to end this way. But yeah, I very much nope. Don't want to deal with that shit. Have you ever been struck by lightning?
No.
Yeah.
I've been shocked.
Yeah, I've been shocked a couple of times.
But not hit by lightning.
I mean, that's good because being hit by lightning doesn't sound fun.
No.
I really hope someone. I feel like someone who listens to this has probably been hit by
Oh,
lightning.
100%.
That's prime. Well, I
One
mean,
of our listeners is Freakazoid.
because like, that it came up in the episode, but that was mostly why I had that question. It's just like, I bet some of these numpties have managed to get struck by lightning.
It annoyed
somehow.
me that like when Pete got hit with lightning with the kite in the first, there was no reaction.
Yeah, there's nothing
There
happened.
was no visual reaction. But when the kite gets hit at the end, they all
That was
react.
Zeus lightning. That was horny lightning. It was a very, very different beast. The old horny
lightning burns the soul.
It fires the loins. Okay, now we got to read the letters from the literate monsters.
I'm scared.
Strapped to chairs and forced to listen to this.
Really scared. Also, I want to say, if you don't listen to this podcast, you're a fucking idiot. There's people who've told me they don't listen to the podcast because they've never watched the show. And I'm like, we literally break down the episode. That's the point of a rewatch podcast.
I feel like we got to put that on the fucking site for it now. If you don't listen to this podcast, you're a fucking idiot.
Because like it just
Let's make that
annoys
the
me
tag
because
for
they're
it.
like I wouldn't understand it. It's like we literally explain the episode. Also, they're available on YouTube. They're there. They're blocked. Use a VPN. We got ways around this.
You can you can listen to any TV rewatch podcast because they'll explain.
They'll
the
explain
episode.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
they do that for all of them. It's kind of how they all work.
It just really upset me that like, oh, I'd love to watch
Also,
it, to listen to it.
So
but
many people listen to this and don't know or watch I think most of them do. I don't
Yeah,
think
exactly.
half the the bulk of the audience hasn't
that's the
watched.
point. Is we want to introduce you to this really weird kids show.
Oh boy, next season's gonna be a doozy.
Oh, that's the whole reason we started this podcast because of season 3. So fucking strap yourselves in.
From a Keep It Classy fan. When were you most scared when you had no reason to be? In the early 2000s, the scary movie franchise had hit the scene. All the kids in my school raved about it. I had yet to see it, and in time before you could look up anything about movies on the internet, I had made the assumption that it was the next The Ring. That's great.
Excellent.
I did not have the stomach for horror movies yet, and during a visit to my friend's house, I panicked and went home after they popped in Scary Movie on the DVD.
Fantastic.
It wasn't until 2 years later that I found out it was a comedy.
They must have laughed at you.
Yeah, like my first thought is, you are gonna get bullied. Very bullied. It's a fucking scary movie. You know what? Someone needs to make a horror movie called Comedy Movie.
Yeah.
Funny movie. Oh, this would be funny.
Ah.
When were you most scared when you had a reason to be? In America, if your school semester grades were poor, you were required to attend summer courses. During those summer courses, you got to attend class with the degenerate of the school. In one class, the kid who sat next to me seemed like a chummy enough fella. We chatted after class, but I began to get the impression that he thought I was more of a friend to him than I actually was. One day he came up to me and told me he was to run up on some other students of the skater variety and start throwing punches. I asked him why, and he
Jesus.
said, because fuck them. He asked me if I had his back. I have a non-committal sound, and he took that as a yes.
Ooh.
I followed him to the scene, and there was 4 kids with skateboards. This was before I took up wrestling and working out. I was not a kid built for fighting at the time. I was terrified about getting a skateboard truck to the face. Which, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you probably would have had that coming because they weren't doing anything. The scene unfolded before I could gather up my guts. My, quote, friend ran up and laid out one guy and immediately started swinging at the other 3. The campus security jumped him and pulled him away. My classmate passed me on the way to the principal's office, shook my hand and said, thanks for having my back. No one ever has. I can't explain it, but I know he wasn't being sarcastic. He had earnestness in his eyes. You were his only friend.
That's sad.
Because fuck them. I'm just going to go hit some fucking... That's
Fuck
amazing.
them.
Any difficulty or unusual situations when trying to pass a test? I was not a smart kid. I wouldn't have been taking summer courses if I was.
Well, at least you admit it.
During summer course, a test the girl next to me passed me a note. The note said, I'll rub your crotch if you let me cheat. I remember thinking how oddly specific that was. I was not brave enough to handle women who were that forward. I offered to let her copy my answers, but forgot to clarify that I didn't need the over-the-pants hand job. Unfortunately, this was the early 2000s, and hip-hop fashion gave my jeans that were too thick and baggy for any action to be done. I mean, look, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, you don't want to be getting fucking a handy from the
Rub your
chicken.
crotch if you let me.
The chicken, summer school.
Dear Amber and Gabriel, this is my 3rd email. I believe Australian tradition and law compel you to send me a photo of the 2 of you violently defacing something I love and cherish upon my 100th email. Okay. Only 97
I
to go.
don't want you to get to 100.
When were you most scared when you had no reason to be? As a child, I had a deep-seated fear of clowns and mascots. I defer to Gabriel's excellent discussion on the connection between horror and comedy in his Treehouse of Horror 3 Simpsons
Wait, you need to write back to us and let us know if you still have this fear.
to explain my clown phobia. As for why I was afraid of mascots, well, I like to think that in the same way the precogs in Minority Report were able to predict the future crimes, my prepubescent mind vaguely sensed that I would one day be horrified and disgusted by grown men prancing around in furry animal costumes. There was one incident where I attended a friend's birthday party. His parents had hired a clown for the occasion.
Excellent.
Though aware of this, my lust for cake and pizza knew no bounds, so I went anyways. I spent a good deal of time just hiding out, but I eventually did run into the clown. I remember him remarking, "Oh, I've heard about you." A fucking terrifying thing to say to a child frightened by clowns in retrospect, before I scurried off. When were you most scared when you had a reason to be? It turns out the clown was a child abductor. Settle in, this is a long one. 1 year. It's not that long, but yeah.
No, but just the was a clown. Fucking was a child abductor. All right.
1 year in middle school, my class went on a camping trip to Yosemite National Park. It is an absolutely gorgeous place, but the bears there have long since inured to humans. To them, campsites are loot box drop zones, forcing campers to hide food and toothpaste and shampoo in specially made bear-proof boxes. One night, I awoke in my tent to the sound of something big moving nearby. I put two and two together pretty quickly. A bear was foraging around our campsite. Then I felt something nuzzle against my head through the tent. Imagine you are lying there, 12 years old, and the only thing between you and a hungry 150-kilogram apex predator is a thin sheet of nylon. Then, I looked to my left and saw to my relief that the thing brushing against my head was in fact my father stirring in his sleep. However, there is a terrifying coda to this little story. Someone outside turned a flashlight on. I looked up and saw a clear silhouette of the bear, standing about 2 feet to the side of the tent. In the morning, we learned that someone had not sealed the bear-proof box properly, and the damn thing had eaten pretty much everything inside.
Bear-proof box.
My father and I left early. Yeah, I feel like it's such a weird thing, because like I'm not opposed to the idea of camping in a place where there are bears, but in like a camper, you know, like in a car where I can go inside and shut the door. Like, because yeah, I don't want to be in any situation where something that can, you know, and like bears are smart. That's the worrying thing. They're very smart for something that has also size, claws, and teeth. You know, normally you don't need a brain, but bears got the brain as well, just because I suppose it's funny. And like just the idea of presenting them with like a fun, like effectively a Kinder Surprise full of people.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just not thrilled about the idea of camping in a situation where that could remotely be a possibility. And like, yeah, it's like, what are you under? Oh, tent fabric. You know, the thinnest shit. Like the least protection. I think a small spider could bite you through that crap.
Yeah.
You know, I want like, there should be like bear camping teepee or something. And it's just like some bits of wood or something, at least. You know, metal. Fucking Kevlar. Get the fucking bulletproof people involved. It's fucking something, you know?
The bears, they're wearing riot gear. We can't stop them.
That's what I mean. Like, yeah, they have to have like, because you can't just put shit in plate. Like the bears will go, oh, I'll open this. I'll just open stuff up. Any difficulty or unusual situations when trying to pass a test? Once in college, I showed up to a statistics class and learned we were holding an exam that day. Oof. Only I had no idea there'd be a test and I hadn't studied. I ended up getting a low C instead of my usual A. Pretty meh, I know, but it still sends a shudder down my spine. Remember, no matter how bad it seems, things can get worse. Hello, Amber and Gabe. For starters, I'm in charge of a small indie studio for what that's worth.
Cool.
Most unusual test was a driver's test that also happened during an eclipse. Huh.
Interesting.
I wonder what god that amuses. There's got to be some eclipse driving test god. Suffice to say, I passed. I imagine in ancient times it would have been viewed as auspicious or something. Yeah, it's hard to say whether it would have been like something good or something bad. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason to it, really. It's just you see a thing and you go, oh, okay, the goat wants me to do this. And, it's goat entrails. There's nothing. In terms of being scared when I shouldn't, one time when I was little, I walked into the bathroom, my cousin jumped out of the shower and scared me. For a year, I instinctively had to pull back the shower curtain any time I went into the bathroom, even if I knew no one was there.
That's fucking not fun.
What can I say? I was little. In terms of genuine fear, one time for an overnight school camping trip sort of thing, we were brought into the woods at night and told to one-on-one walk through the path in the forest alone. What the fuck? One thing that always scared me is being in a forest at night alone. So I was kind of dreading this. When it was my turn, a very animal part of my brain basically told me just to sprint through the woods as soon as they lost sight of me, like I was being chased by the predator. It felt like all my senses were on overdrive because of the adrenaline. That's literally what was going on, yeah. Funnily enough, I caught up to a girl who had gone before me and scared the shit out of her too. She was a friend of a girl who had a crush on me, so I imagined this was very weird. I made awkward conversation with her, trying to calm her down as we walked together to where everyone else was waiting. Thanks for the lovely podcast. Cheers. That's a weird thing to get people to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, children, time to, see if the fucking forest witch deems you pure. Walk through the forest alone at night. Fucking why? Hello, Amber and Gabe.
Yeah.
The time I can most vividly remember being scared for good reason was when I was maybe about 7. We had officers from Animal Control go door to door around our neighborhood to warn us about a dangerous stag sighted in the area. It's wild. The next night I was playing outside near our woodpile. What fucking weird rural fucking patch of goddamn North America is this? Amber, did you ever play by the woodpile?
No, there were
stags.
stags.
It's a real stag in the woodpile. We were playing near our woodpile. Fucking Minecraft villager. I see a giant stag about 50 feet away staring right at me. I hugged the woodpile, for it was my mother. And we stared at each other from the point where I could clearly see it in the twilight to when all the sunlight was gone. Eventually the stag moved on, but it still took me a few minutes to work up the courage to run back to the house. For when one of us was scared and we had no reason to be, my wife wanted to tell about when I played a prank on her. When my wife and I were still just dating, we decided to watch John Carpenter's The Thing on a snowy day. Neat. My wife decided to make us freezer pizza for lunch. I had to go outside for a reason I can't remember. Hug the woodpile. And wanted to play a prank on her when I got back inside. When she was in the kitchen with her back turned, I snuck up behind her and did my best imitation of the thing's screech. My wife was in the middle of adding shredded parmesan cheese to the pizza when this happened. She screamed and threw the cheese at me as she turned, covering me.
Fantastic.
We both burst into laughter once we realized the ridiculousness of the situation. My wife and I do this kind of stuff to each other quite often with her.
What,
sometimes
throwing cheese?
Cheese fight. Sometimes coming close to reflexively punching or kicking me. It's worth the laugh afterwards. Try to stay cool. And last one. Have you ever met a goat or have you ever met a cockatoo? Yes. Toward the end of our last high school year, our group of friends decided to go out into the forest reserves in the northeast part of California. The goal was 3 days in the woods, doing nothing but drinking, laughing, and fishing and grilling. No one tells you this in high school, but you truly find out how little in common you have with your friends after spending more than 10 hours with them. During the second day, a wild goat did wander near our campgrounds. It was brown, dirty, sickly-looking thing. We tried to scare it off by turning on the car, or generally shooing it away, but the goat seemed to simply want to occupy space around us and stare.
Goats are dicks.
They're great. Like, because they are dicks. Like, they're fucking cunty things, but they're, like, not really big enough to make it a problem. But, like, they're big enough that you can't just sort of, like, it's not like a possum you can just kind of swing a foot at. So they're in that lovely zone of, like, all right, it's not going to kill me, but it could be an issue. It's just a fun space to occupy. Eventually, our very short and very angry friend Tyler had enough of it staring. Tyler was a hobbyist boxer, and part of me hoped he would retrieve his boxing gloves from his truck, but instead he grabbed a baseball bat. He began prodding the goat and yelling at it to fuck off. Then he prodded the goat too hard. The goat barked, panicked, and then ran. Tyler took a kick to the thigh that swelled up pretty bad. To his credit, the goat never came back. The boxing gloves would have probably been a better idea, actually.
The goat inherited Tyler.
Yeah, you got to circle the goat.
He possessed him. He's now the goat spirit.
Now Tyler wanders the forest, waiting for another group of teens to come camping. During my last year of high school, my arts teacher, who I assisted with projects outside of school hours with, wanted to give me a farewell present. In his gallery, he had X-Men #3, graded, mint, and untouched. He wanted me to keep it as a memory, but told me I may be able to sell it in a pinch. As I grew older and moved up and down California, it fell into one of the many unlabeled boxes I took with me and somehow got lost in the travel. I don't know what happened to it or where it is. It's still a bit of a mystery to this day. Bonus story. My friend Morgan has finally been convinced to get into Magic the Gathering by one of my more nerd-centric friends.
That's a gateway drug. No, Morgan, you're screwed.
He threw down $100 on the latest set at the time. Without going into details, he pulled easily $300 of rare foils and cards. From there, he was an active trader and player in Magic the Gathering, until the day he accidentally left his backpack in his old car, which was on the rails to be recycled. By the time he ran back to the vehicle recycle center, it was too late. Your cards have been crushed into a cube. Have you ever been caught in an expanding web of lies? Generally, I try to avoid lying, but I did have a lie get thrust upon me. I earlier mentioned my very angry, very short friend Tyler. Tyler came to school one day looking ready to explode, a fuming ball of Hispanic swears and closed fists. Apparently, he found out that his girlfriend was cheating on him. He swore on our friendship that he was going to find out who it was with, and regardless of who they were, he was going to beat the crap out of them. Tyler's now ex-girlfriend began spreading rumors that it could be one of several boys, lumping me into a web of lies. I was one of those harmless nice guys, so I think Tyler put me on the bottom of the list, but certainly began meeting kids in the parking lot for confrontations. I somehow managed to avoid this tiny fury, but I had sleepless nights wondering if he would attempt to kick my ass the next day. Looking back on it, if he had, I could have just picked him up like a child. It would have made him angry, but it would have been better than the ass kicking. And that's the end of our stories for the week. Remember, if you want to tell us if you've ever felt like this, send your emails to ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com, all lowercase. And the questions this week are, ever been caught in a storm? Ever really needed a light? Ever been responsible for a big fuck up? Ever been struck by lightning?
I'm interested in that one specifically.
Yeah. So send your answers to ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com, and we will read them on the internet and probably mock you, who you are as a person and where you're from.
I mean, there's no probably about it. That's what this podcast is.
Well, I say probably to give people the thin fucking, ray of hope.
They should know by now.
You'd think. So that is ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com. This has been the series finale of episode 2.
Unfortunately.
A rushed bag. And the next season we get stuck with a horrifying new cast, an entirely new Tony. I feel like I should send somebody else over, like instead of me. Get like fresh Gabe.
No, we'll just get 2 homeless people off the street. Just be like, okay.
We'll go find Stink Belly.
No, he's not coming in my house. We'll bring a TV to him.
We don't want to teach Stink Belly what the inside is like.
No, God, I don't want to smell him. I do not want to be close to that person.
Stink Belly.
No, shut up. All right, you can find us on the internet at many places. KeepItClassy.com. You can find us on Twitter at KeepItClassy, at Ambercules, and at Gabriel on Guard.
Yeah. My name is my name, so you can just like search for me. So, Gabriel Morton. That's fairly easy. I don't go in for no fancy handles.
I do, because I have no personality and want to feel loved.
Is there a magical moon fruit?
I am, and I love it. I love it because I've been doing this thing where people can send me anonymous questions or use 3 words to describe me. And someone just goes gay, homosexual, and I'm like, yes, that's factual. Your point.
I just imagine someone looking down at a stick shift and seeing just gay, and homosexual. It's just like, I can't drive stick.
It was really funny because I don't know if it was meant to be funny or if it was meant to be an
gay
insult.
Is on there twice.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a joke.
But yeah, it was just this.
Because I called you a big giant fruit. Not because you're gay, but because you're posting on, social media like you're a big giant gay.
Yeah.
The
people need to know about my big giant gayness, all right? Alrighty. I'm Ghost Amber and this is Ghost Gabriel, and we'll go see you later.
Boo.